Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our class. Today, we're going to learn about an important chapter, the colonial era in India. So, let's begin. Imagine this. A group of European traders arrives in India. They come with ships, goods and one main purpose, trade. But slowly, something changes. The traders start making political decisions, interfering in the affairs of Indian rulers and gaining control over territories. And eventually, these traders become rulers. So, how did this happen? Let's understand the story of the colonial era in India. First, what exactly is colonialism? Colonialism means when one country takes control over another territory and its people. From around the 15th century, European powers began expanding across different parts of the world. They were looking for trade, resources, markets and political power. And India was one of their most attractive destinations because of its rich resources, skilled artisans and flourishing trade. The first major European power to reach India by sea was Portugal. In 1498, Vasco da Gama reached Calicut. The Portuguese soon realized that controlling important ports could help them control trade. So, in 1510, they captured Goa, which became their main center in India. They also introduced the Cartaz system, through which they tried to control maritime trade. But the Portuguese did not have complete control. One strong opponent was Rani Abaca, who resisted their attempts to capture Ullal. Her resistance showed that Indians were not simply going to accept foreign control. After the Portuguese came the Dutch. The Dutch arrived in India in the early 17th century, mainly interested in the spice trade. They established trading centers and competed with other European powers. But their influence gradually declined. In 1741, Travancore defeated the Dutch in the Battle of Colachel. And the Dutch presence in India became much weaker. Then came the French. The French established important centers such as Surat and Pondicherry. Under Dupleix, French political influence increased. But there was another European power trying to become stronger in India, the British. The rivalry between the French and British eventually led to the Carnatic Wars. In the end, French power in India became limited, while British influence continued to grow. Now comes the biggest turning point in our story. The English East India Company had originally come to India for one reason, trade. The company established trading centers at Surat, Madras, Bombay and Calcutta. But gradually, the British realized that political power could give them even greater control over trade. So, they began interfering in Indian politics. They supported one ruler against another, used military power and took advantage of rivalries between Indian states. This strategy became closely associated with the policy of divide and rule. Then came the event that changed everything. The Battle of Plassey in 1757. The British fought Siraj-ud-Daulah, the Nawab of Bengal. But the British had an important advantage. Mir Jafar, one of the Nawab's commanders, betrayed him. The British won the battle. And this victory gave them a major political advantage in Bengal. The East India Company was no longer just a trading company. It was becoming a political power. But how did the British continue expanding? They used different policies. One was the subsidiary alliance. Under this system, Indian rulers had to accept British troops and British influence. Another was the doctrine of lapse. Under this policy, certain states could be annexed when their rulers died without a direct male heir. Through such policies, the British gradually brought more and more Indian states under their control. But while the British were gaining power, what was happening to ordinary Indians? The answer was not good. British policies greatly affected India's economy. Heavy taxes placed pressure on farmers. Indian industries, especially the textile industry, began to decline. British manufactured goods entered Indian markets, while India increasingly became a supplier of raw materials and a market for British goods. Indian wealth was also continuously transferred to Britain. This became known as the drain of wealth. And then came another terrible problem, famines. The Bengal famine of 1770 caused enormous suffering. Later, the famine of 1876-1878 also caused widespread devastation. High revenue demands, crop failures and colonial economic policies made the situation even worse. But Indians did not remain silent. Different groups began resisting British policies. Tribal communities fought to protect their land and forests. The Coal Uprising and the Santhal Rebellion were important examples of tribal resistance. Peasants also began protesting against exploitation. During the Indigo Revolt, peasants resisted the forced cultivation of indigo for European planters. So, resistance to British rule was growing in different parts of India. And then came the biggest early challenge, the Revolt of 1857. The Revolt of 1857 began among Indian soldiers, but it soon spread to several regions. Important centers included Delhi, Kanpur, Lucknow and Jhansi. There were many reasons behind the revolt. Indian soldiers had military grievances. People were unhappy with British political policies and economic exploitation. There were also religious concerns. All these problems came together and created widespread anger against British rule. And among the leaders of the revolt were two remarkable women. Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi fought against the British and became a symbol of courage. Begum Hazrat Mahal of Awadh also led resistance against British rule, particularly in Lucknow. Their stories became an important part of India's history of resistance. The colonial era was therefore not simply a story of how the British ruled India. It was also a story of resistance, struggle and the beginning of a much larger journey towards freedom. And that is the story of the colonial era in India.